There it was, right in the middle of my land, standing like it owned the place, a massive, 3-story concrete structure. I was fresh off a 2-week trip to visit my daughter in Colorado Springs. My boots still dusty from the road, and there I stood, mouth open, staring at what looked like a brand-new multi-level parking garage. And not a small one either. This thing had floodlights, painted lines, even a working elevator bolted to the side. The kicker? I had no idea it was being built. No calls, no emails, no warning signs, nothing. Just 2 weeks earlier. I left behind the peaceful fields of my ranch, the smell of cedar in the air, and the company of my dog Ranger and 2 old horses. And I came back to bulldozers, honking horns, and some guy in a neon vest shouting instructions like it was just another Monday. Then a black SUV rolled up next to me, the window came down, and a woman inside beamed at me. "You must be the new HOA president. Everyone's thrilled you approved this project. It's already solving the overflow issue." I blinked at her. "I'm sorry." "What?" She pointed proudly toward the building. "The parking garage for Silver Meadows Estates. It's genius to use this lot. You're a real hero, Mr. Bradley." My hands started to shake. "Ma'am, this is my ranch. I don't live in Silver Meadows. I've got nothing to do with your HOA." Her smile dropped. The window went up. She peeled away. And that's when I saw the sign posted on my fence. "Property managed by Silver Meadows HOA. Trespassers will be fined." I couldn't believe it. "My name is Jack Bradley. I'm 61, a retired firefighter. I bought this 38-acre ranch with my pension and savings the day I clocked out for the last time. All I ever wanted was some quiet with Ranger, my horses, and a few good sunsets. But now, there was a parking garage on my land. Cars were parked on my grass. Strangers walked around like it was a mall lot. And I hadn't even unpacked my suitcase yet. So how did this happen? Let me back up. 3 years ago, I bought this land outside a quiet suburb in northern Arizona. No HOA drama. No suburban squabbles. Just trees, deer, and the occasional owl. My daughter, Caroline, visits often. She's in her 30s, 2 kids, sweet husband. She always tells me, "Dad, don't let anyone touch your land. You earned this peace." That peace didn't last. The first warning signs came when construction started on a new neighborhood, Silver Meadows Estates, right across the old dirt road that separates my property. At first, I didn't mind. People need places to live. But soon, the noise grew louder, the trucks closer, and the no trespassing signs I posted kept disappearing. Then came the visits. First was a guy named Greg, clipboard in hand, who claimed he was just checking boundaries for the HOA. I told him politely to leave. Next was Marilyn, a woman in her 60s driving a golf cart like she was patrolling a gated fortress. "We've been thinking your land would be perfect for community events," she said. "Maybe we could manage it for you." I laughed in her face. Big mistake. I had no clue they had bigger plans. I only learned the truth after coming home from my trip. I'd locked the gate and left Ranger with my buddy Tom, a retired deputy with a bum knee who lives 10 minutes away. He watches the place when I'm gone. According to Tom, the gate was unlocked just 2 days after I left. A crew arrived with heavy machinery. They said the HOA board had dispatched them. And get this, they claimed I approved it. They had permits and documents. All looked official. When Tom called and told me, I said, "You're kidding." He wasn't. So now here I was, face to face with a real-life nightmare. And I hadn't even checked the mailbox yet. First thing I did was call the sheriff. "There's a parking garage on my ranch," I told them, "and I want them off." An hour later, Deputy Monroe showed up. Young guy. Stepped out of his patrol car and did a double take. "You weren't kidding," he said. "Nope." He walked the land, took photos, and said, "This isn't just trespassing. If they laid concrete and utilities, we're looking at criminal activity. But I'll need proof this land's yours." I handed him my deed, title, and survey, all legal, all current. He nodded. "I'll file a report. But I also need to contact the HOA and the county. This goes deeper." Deeper? I didn't like the sound of that. Just as we were talking by the barn, a black luxury sedan pulled up. Out stepped Marilyn, the same woman who offered to manage my land. Now she wore a pantsuit and heels like she was heading into a court hearing. "Mr. Bradley," she said cheerfully, holding a folder, "I believe we need to review the community development agreement you signed last year." I stepped forward. "What agreement?" She opened the folder, revealing documents bearing my name and signature. but I never signed anything. Deputy Monroe looked between me and the papers. I shook my head. That's not my signature. Marilyn smiled smugly. We've already filed everything with the county. You can't back out now. That's when I realized this wasn't incompetence. It was intentional. Then came the chaos. A boom echoed from the garage. Smoke. Screams. Monroe ran. I chased behind him. Turns out, a van had caught fire on the second level. A teenage kid was stuck inside. I sprinted up the ramp, smashed the glass with a fire extinguisher, and dragged him out just as flames reached the hood. My old training kicked in. The kid survived. Barely. Sirens arrived. Fire trucks. EMTs. The whole deal. And as the scene calmed, I turned to Marilyn. That building almost killed someone, I said. She adjusted her folder. An unfortunate accident. But the land is now communal. I nearly lost it. You built a death trap on land you don't own. Deputy Monroe frowned. This needs full investigation. That night, Tom came over. Caroline called in from Colorado Springs. We laid out everything, surveys, titles, old permits. And we discovered something chilling. They had forged an easement. Signed by me. Filed with the county. Notarized by Linda Porter. The HOA's legal counsel. They were building a case to erase me from my land. Next day, I stormed the county office. A clerk handed me a lease agreement, 40 years, $1 a year. My signature was there. That's fake, I said. He pointed to the notary. Linda Porter. There it was again. Back home, I called Monroe and showed him everything. This is criminal, he said. Forgery. Fraud. We're opening a case. But just as I caught my breath, Tom called again. Jack, they're back. They're digging at your gate. Cement trucks here. I rushed back. Sure enough, for HOA board members, blueprints in hand, workers pouring concrete for a security checkpoint. A new sign leaned nearby. Silver Meadows private access only. Stop, I shouted. Marilyn turned, smug as ever. This is for community safety. Not on my land, I snapped. She claimed easement. I called my attorney, Mark Hastings. Then Monroe arrived. He took one look at the mess and said, shut it down. Now, reluctantly, the workers stopped. The fight had escalated. Then came the night. Camera alert pinged. For men digging near my barn. No permits. No lights. I grabbed my shotgun. Ranger at my side. I caught them red-handed, burying cables labeled Stonebridge Utilities. One container said, property of Hallbrook Development Group. This wasn't about a garage anymore. This was a utility corridor. A backdoor to massive development. Monroe detained the men. One fled. They weren't just trespassing. They were hiding infrastructure, fiber lines, power conduits, all under my land. Marilyn returned the next morning. Hoodie, jeans, and none of the smug. She asked to talk. They need your land, Jack. She said, you're the missing piece. The utility plan links to the industrial zone behind Silver Meadows. You hold the key. You forged my name, I said. You nearly killed a kid. They'll offer you millions, she said. You can walk away. Not a chance. That afternoon, Mark discovered that County Land Officer Dan Keller had notarized the original easement. Guess what? He also worked on private contracts with Hallbrook Development. We had them. Next morning, a black SUV pulled up. A man in a suit stepped out. Mr. Bradley, I'm Colin Bell from Hallbrook Corporate. We'd like to renegotiate. He handed me a folder. Final offer, $2.4 million. I let it fall to the dirt. You trespassed, forged, bribed, and lied. I'm not selling. That evening, news broke. Monroe confirmed an investigation. Mark filed a fraud complaint, and 2 journalists from Phoenix News 7 arrived. They interviewed me at the barn. Caroline gave her side. Tom provided footage. By dusk, it had spread across the state. The next day, bulldozers returned. But not to build, to destroy. They were tearing down the garage. Only, something was off. In secret. They were digging a trench from the garage toward my barn. Monroe returned. I grabbed a shovel. We found a metal box. Inside? Blueprints. USB drives. Phase 2 development plans. They were building an airstrip. A commercial hub. All routed through my land. The garage was a decoy. Everything else, the trench, the cables, the fire, it was all a smokescreen. Mark submitted it all to the state attorney general. By week's end, Marilyn was arrested in New Mexico. Colin Bell, hauled out of Hallbrook HQ in cuffs. The garage, demolished. The land, Restored. The cables? Dug up and removed. I didn't take the settlement. The court demanded compensation anyway. I donated the full sum to a firefighter charity in my wife's name. We rebuilt the barn, painted the gate, and installed solar security. And one evening, Caroline sat next to me on the porch. "Dad, you did it." I sipped my coffee. "Not quite." I showed her the final page of the documents. One line chilled me. "If landowner does not comply, initiate emergency eminent domain." They were going to use the law to take my land. But we got there first. The injunction was filed. The motion blocked. The scheme exposed. Now, I sit here with Ranger at my feet, my daughter nearby, and peace finally returned. Not because I fought with fists, but because I stood my ground with truth, grit, and good people. So now I ask you, where are you watching from? Have you ever had to protect what's yours from people who thought they were bigger than the law? Because this land, it still stands. And now, the whole state's watching.